Well, g'day guys and welcome to a special episode of the Bounce Accounts. Ellis is not with me today because he couldn't bear to be in front of the camera after last night's result. We're also going to be doing a show tomorrow, so this one will be out before. But Ellis couldn't bear being in front of the camera right now. He'll be back tomorrow though. So I'm just going to be running down the Liverpool-Chelsea result from last night, and I'm heartbroken, to be honest with you. It's a very tough time for us Liverpool fans because we're at the top. We've never been at the top for a very long time now, and we have to deal with what happens, that pressures. And a lot of people said we were going to stroll to the title now after the Man City result, but a lot of people forgot we had Chelsea today, and a Chelsea team that is still very good. They're playing in the Champions League semi-final. They are now still third and are still a chance of winning the title. Liverpool could slip up against Crystal Palace and Newcastle, and they could just swoop in here, and they obviously hope that Man City then have to stuff up. But Chelsea is still in the title race, and I haven't remembered a title race for a very long time now that actually three teams with 2 weeks to go have been in it still mathematically, so it's very interesting. I'm just going to go through quickly 5 points for you from the game that I thought were quite interesting, and then through my player ratings, because I think there's a lot of discussion to be had on that. I don't know how long the video is going to go for, I'm just going to talk. So first, we do not let this slip. I've seen so many memes, and I'll probably put a couple up right now, but I feel for Steven Gerrard today right now. That 5 seconds where Demba Ba probably less when he picked up that ball and ran. I don't think I've seen a man run that fast after he stuffed up then. His heart was just... He never does that. And it's so sad that will probably cost us the title, but I could see it in his eyes after, and he kept trying and trying and trying, but that's the style we play. If that could have happened to anyone, it's just happened to happen to Gerrard. But Demba Ba scored there on the stroke of half-time. That's what Chelsea came here to do, what I'll talk about in my first point with parking the bus, but they waited for the opportunity and they took it. They should have scored a bit earlier with young Cuttsy missing an absolute sitter of a header. If that's John Terry, Ivanovic, Louise, anyone, that's in the back of the net. And we should have been 1-0 down anyway because that was deplorable marking, and luckily he's a young player, and I think he just wasn't thinking as much. He thought he was just going to get his head to it, but he missed it. But I'm going to start now talking about parking the bus. Rodgers came out after the game and said Chelsea parked 2 buses. They came here with the tactics. They started out, pardon me, they were time wasting within 30 seconds. Until the league, this never really happens though, but until the league stamps this out and says you've got 10 seconds to take your throw in or whatever with the goal kicks. But Atkinson can't keep just looking at his his watch saying, oh, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. He should have shown a yellow card. The irony that he showed the last yellow card for time wasting in the 93rd minute, but they should have been out earlier just to stand that down because he knew what was going to happen. Just show a yellow card to Schwarzer or someone who took a minute to take a goal kick. Just hurry up. But parking the bus, Chelsea did park 2 buses basically, but they did it well. Ivanovic was amazing. Azpilicueta was also outstanding. They didn't let anyone through. Sterling attacked them a couple of times and did get in behind, but there was nothing really else. They sat on the edge of the 18-yard box and they just did what they came out to do. And people are getting angry at Mourinho because it's not playing football, but in the end, I saw a quote before, attack wins matches, defence wins titles, and to be honest with you, all us Liverpool fans know that this season's going to come down to the fact that we've conceded 40-ish goals. That's going to be the reason why we don't win the title, and we'll probably end up losing it on goal difference. What's the saddest thing? We've had the best attacking team, but we're probably going to lose it on goal difference. So I know next year that we'll have to get some better players in for the defence, and we just have to stop leaking goals because we know we can attack. It's just leaking those goals. So, but parking the bus, even though they had a sort of a depleted team, people said they came out and did what Mourinho wanted to do, and I give him credit that because they set out a game plan and they did it well. My second point, the squad depth. We all were saying into the week that Chelsea were going to play a really depleted squad, but they got Azpilicueta, who's probably going to be in the Spanish team for the World Cup. Ivanovic, who is an international captain and has played hundreds of games for Chelsea. Cuttsy is a young player, at only 20, making his first league start, but he's made 50 appearances for Vitesse, I think that's how you say it. And then you've got Ashley Cole at left back. That is a good defence. It's not a depleted team. Then you've got Schürrle, Lampard, Matic in the midfield, John Obi Mikel. They've played hundreds of games in between of professional football. It's not an easy side to beat down. Demba Ba, he's not the best striker, but still he does the job. But compared to our squad depth, they've got that's a full another 11 that they're not playing that they're going to play in the Champions League. I know we haven't needed that squad depth, but it showed today coming off the bench. Sturridge barely did anything, and Aspas, okay, he really stuffed up right at the end with that pass. But to me, I thought he was excellent, Aspas. People are going to probably slate me right now, but I have to give the man credit. When he comes on in the 80th minute, the crowd is down. We're probably not the sub we're looking for to bring on to make a difference. But the first thing he does is he wins a corner and he goes to the cop and just G's everyone up. You can see the sound of the cop was getting a bit bigger, and I'm really proud of him for doing that. He did really stuff up at the end, what I think cost us the goal. But he hasn't played that much this year, and a lot of people are going to give him some stick and say he's probably one of the worst signings we've made in a long time. But when you've got the two main strikers in the team who've scored 50 goals between them, you're not going to get a look in. And we see what happened last year. Barini didn't really get that much game time. He's gone off. He's been outstanding for Sunderland, winning their Young Player of the Year. So we'll just have to see what happens with Aspas. With next year, he's probably going to be a vital player coming off the bench, maybe starting Premier League games if we're playing Champions League. Even though it's another 6 games, but we hope to go further in the Champions League, FA Cup and League Cup. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, guys. I mean, compared to ours also, Moses would have probably come on, but obviously he was club tied, so that didn't work. But I just have to say we need to sign some more players, probably 6 players without anyone leaving. But I just want to talk about Lucas quickly. It's just he's just not the player he was 3 or 4 years ago, and I think he's gone to be too much of a defensive player. As we all know, he came from Brazil being a more attacking minded player, and we tried to make him defensive. I'm just not sure if that's his natural position. Again, I don't know, a good friend of the show, Jack Cooper, always says he's not the player we need that's going to win titles as a defensive midfielder. You see what Chelsea have done by getting him Matic, and that man is outstanding. Even Fernandinho is a great player. They're just not that standard. Gerrard playing the defensive midfield role is what he's been excellent at it, but we probably need a proper defensive midfielder next season with more games, especially the Champions League, probably going to some bigger stadiums away from home. Gerrard probably can't be playing that role, and he's another year older. Next thing, Jose taught Brendan a lesson. Looked like Rodgers was a bit out of ideas, and I don't know whether winning 11 on the trot and coming into a game like this, you needed sort of not a fresh face or someone else coming back from injury, what was Sturridge, but we just looked like we were out of ideas. And I was saying this morning actually, when I was talking to this about my dad, that Liverpool looked like it was like an under 15 side when we needed a goal at the end, that everyone pushed forward onto the last man, and we still controlled possession. I think we had 75%, probably more. I think that's 78 actually, but they were parking the bus. We needed to actually bring Sturridge out, bring Suarez out. This is what a game Hendo would have been excellent at, making runs in between the lines. But they just stood on the last man. I don't think Sturridge really touched the ball at all. I'd have actually been expecting us, we brought on Aspas, what took off Flanagan, but Flanagan was actually bringing some natural width. I don't know if that was obviously the one sub we had to make, because we couldn't take off Allen, or you're not taking off Suarez or Sturridge at that point. But still, I think we lacked that sort of spreading the play. The Chelsea defenders were standing there. Some people last night were saying on social media that Suarez was manhandled with 4 guys around him. Well, Suarez had to do more, to be honest with you. He needed to get out from the edge of the 18-yard box, come and get the ball more. He did it a couple of times, but he nearly needed to play the Gerrard role for a bit and hope that Ivanovic or someone comes and takes away, that gives a gap for someone to come in. Also, Chelsea were just sitting there, and we did start to take some long shots, but a good friend of the show, Alex Donald, said on social media that we need to take more pot shots in the first half. Schwarzer, obviously, as we know, you might be watching this from another country here, but he has been appalling for the Socceroos. That's why he retired about 6 months ago, conceding 12 goals in 2 games. Okay, the defences for Australia are not as good as Chelsea's, but he looked like he was still a world beater last night. He was making save after save, important saves he needed to make, but he wasn't making those a year ago, I don't think. So that's why he's still not Fulham's #1. That's why they got rid of him. But it was a masterstroke from Mourinho to sign Schwarzer. It cost him nothing. Some people said to Schwarzer, "Why are you on the bench for Chelsea?" But you can see now Mourinho signed an experienced player to come into a massive game. Most other teams have an inexperienced #2 that hasn't played 500 games of Premier League or something. Don't quote me on that number, but I think it's a fair amount of Premier League games. They can come in, and he did really well, short. So I have to give the Aussie credit, even though I would have hoped he conceded about 5 last night, but that's all right. Yeah, I just talked about where was Suarez. But Liverpool fans, we're still in it, and this title race is wide open, okay? City still have 3 games to play. It's tough. They've got to catch up. They know they have to win their last 3, and we know from City 2 years ago they've won it now by having the ascendancy, but we know that they can choke. And some people are saying now Liverpool are chokers, but for us here now, we only wanted to make top 4, and everything else was a bonus, and we've been in that. We've been at the top now. But to me, I'd rather be, not that I'd rather be second. I'd rather be 10 points up on first. But right now, this reminds me of a bit of a Mario Kart game where you're turning around the last corner, and we've just been hit by one of those red shells. I just think now that we've just got to hope that they hit a banana peel now and they just slip up right at the end and we can just run straight past them. It can happen. We've still got Crystal Palace, who luckily enough are now safe. They obviously just fell over the Man City last night early, but this would have been a much tougher game for us if they didn't have anything to play for. If they did have something to play for now, luckily our last 2 games obviously can be worse. Both teams don't have anything to play for, they're safe. We just need to go out there and just put the pedal in the metal, go straight out now, and we've got everything to play for now. We should still win this. Quickly, I'm now just going to go a little bonus comment about one man that I thought was excellent last night that he doesn't get enough praise, was John Flanagan. I can't give this guy enough credit. I don't know if he's the most technically gifted footballer, but he lives and breathes Liverpool Football Club, and this kid deserves another bumper contract right now because he's come in and thrown away Ali Sissoko, who 4 years ago a lot of us were saying, and I know through different games, Football Manager, FIFA, even watching the guy, was the next guy to come behind Evra Clichy for France at left back, and he was big, he was strong, he was fast. We thought this guy 4 years ago, Liverpool were trying to sign him 4 years ago anyway, was going to be the next best left back in the world, and he obviously is not the greatest player, but Flano's come from last year, I think it was against Sunderland, maybe the year before, where it was quite poor in that first game, and he's really worked on his game. He's come back, and this season he's not the biggest lad, he's playing out of position again, but he has been a testament to the lad. I think he's played nearly 20 games this season starting for a team at the top. One thing I was saying to someone else was, if this guy was playing for Southampton now, English young right left back, would Manchester United, Chelsea be saying we want to buy him for 30 million? That's what they're saying Luke Shaw. I'm not saying John Flanagan is Luke Shaw, but this guy is showing up. Why he probably should make the England squad, and I saw a report on the Mirror with now Kyle Walker not going to make the England squad probably because of an injury, but they're not 100% sure he'll be fit for the whole World Cup. That Flanagan should make it. He has been excellent. He throws himself into every challenge, and there was some times last night where, I can't remember who it was, Schürrle or someone, was sort of showing him up, trying to do a bit of a showboat in front of him, and Flanagan's just gone, F that, and just jumps into the challenge, wins the ball. Every 50-50 he goes in. He was excellent, and I have to just give the man credit. He was my star man last night. He had to get subbed because you're not going to take Glenn Johnson off when Aspas comes on. But Funny, he keeps coming, getting up and down the wing. Him and Sterling are excellent together. I think we've got a gem. I'm not saying he's going to be a world-class right or left back, but I think we've got a solid squad player that we could have for the next 10 years. Someone that reminds me a bit of a Wes Brown, a John O'Shea, that can come in, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get a bad performance from him. He's not going to be able to, say, defend Messi easily or Ronaldo, but he's going to come in, he's going to give you Champions League games maybe away in the Premier League next year, League Cup, FA Cup games. He's going to be important for us. And I have to give the guy credit. We all hoped that was going to be Martin Kelly, but he's had problems with injuries, but I have to give Flano a lot of credit. He's been excellent. Just now going to go through the player ratings from last night. But yeah, getting straight on now to the player ratings. Mignolet, I have to give a 7. He was excellent. Again, nothing you could do about the 2 goals. The one-on-one, it was an excellent finish by Barr. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for the finish. It's tough running straight one-on-one. He's finished it just under Mignolet. There's nothing really Mignolet can do with that. He made some excellent saves though to keep us in the game. Schürrle had one where he cut inside from the left, sort of did skirtle inside out, and it was down. It's a save he has to make, again like Schwartz's saves, but he makes it with a firm hand and gets it away from the danger, so I have to give him credit. Johnson, I give a 6. I was happy with the performance, again attacking. To me, again, he's a right winger who's having to play right back now for the last 10 years of his career. He just loves attacking so much. Defensively, he does some wrong things, but it's not great. To me, he just gets forward, but then there's a couple of times where he goes around the man, it's great, but he doesn't know what to do with it. Sometimes he goes the extra touch, or he's trying to look for the penalty and trying to get that contact. Sometimes, like last time, we just had to get the ball in the box, straight along the ground or in the air, and just hope that someone puts it through, or it's just adding pressure. But a lot of times, he really effed up, and that just sort of relieved the pressure. So I think Glenn, somewhere at right back, we might be looking to get someone else in, but he's an important player, and I think it's actually scary for England right now that he is their best right back. Sadly for me, well not sadly, but Flano I think has probably had a better season than him. but that's obviously not going to happen, that Flanagan's going to be starting in Brazil. Next, I've got Skirtle and Sacco. I'm giving Skirtle a 7, Sacco a 7.5. Skirtle was immense again, nothing he can do about either goal. A couple of times was turned inside out, but he's still so strong. Wasn't really manhandled. A couple of times he still goes up with the elbows and stuff, but I think it's quite dangerous. Refs still don't pick that up, but yeah, Sacco again was immense. The ball at his feet is a scary thing, but he's getting better with every game. It's not like Kolo Toure when the ball goes to his feet. Kolo's scared of it, because I think he's never really played that way. Surprisingly, though, when he was at Arsenal, he was a passing centre-back. I never get that, where he's now come to Liverpool, he's scared with the ball at his feet. But that's sort of like Sacco, but he's learning. For a 23-year-old, I think we've got an immense player on our hands, and sadly enough, I don't think Daniel Agger's going to get back into this team, and maybe next year, Agger's just going to be a squad player. I think his vice-captaincy might have to then be taken away from him. It's another conversation about who takes that role. But we have to just say Sacco again. That one time where he did let the ball bounce was probably his worst moment of the game, but he was still strong, handled bar well, and nothing he could do about either of the goals, because he did pass the ball straight to Stevie. It wasn't like it was a bad pass. So yeah, next we've already talked about Flanagan. I gave him an 8 out of 10. He was my man of the match for Liverpool, even though I think Azpilicueta and Ivanovic tie for man of the match, giving them nearly a 10 because they never put a foot wrong. Next, Gerrard, I still have to give him a 7 because he still kept things ticking. It's just so sad that hopefully his career isn't marred by this one mistake, because he'll go down. I still think he'll go down as the best player we've ever had. Okay, he hasn't won things, but he's the heart and soul of this team, and I really hope he stays on for a long time. Maybe, hopefully he does a gigs and keeps playing until he's 39 or something, even if it's just in the Scholes role like he's been playing this season, and just keeping it ticking, and plays 15 games, 20 games. He's still in pawn, but maybe after next season he has to take a lighter role, especially with squad depth. But I just have to still give Stevie credit. One thing we've lacked, and hearing, I can't remember who was commentating, was one of Stevie's first cracks that he fluffed the lines, the old Gerrard! And we haven't heard that enough, and he hasn't done it for a couple of years. He hasn't hit really a cracker. And a couple of times last night, he didn't know what to do again. And I think it's really interesting that, has he not been working on his long shots? Because for the start of his career, that's what we all remember, Gerrard having long shots. There was a couple of times last night where I'd bet my house on him hitting it. Even really making Schwarzer work, but they were going left, right and centre. There was that one on the edge of the box where he tried to curve it, and he hit it straight to him. Just put your laces through it, Stevie. And I think I saw the Redman TV lads put a tweet up about that. Just put your laces through it, Stevie. And he really needed to. Next, Lucas. Talked quickly about him earlier in the show, but I don't see him as being a starter anymore in important games. We're not going to get market value for him to sell him now, I don't think, unless really Rafa still has a fetish for him and wants to pay 10 million, or Rafa, if you want to pay 10 million for him, come and get him. But I just don't see anyone really wanting to buy Lucas for a good amount of money, so I don't know if we would sell him. Might as well keep him. But we missed Hendo today. I think that's what I'm going to talk about at the end here, just about Henderson's red card. But we missed Henderson today, and Lucas is just not Henderson. And I think a year ago we would be surprised that we'd be saying Lucas is not Henderson, but Lucas is just not there anymore. And I think it's sad. He lives and breathes Liverpool right now, and he's bringing his family to be that way. But I can't stand him playing anymore. He doesn't have a run. He's a defensive midfielder that doesn't really defend. I think that's the best way you can put it. Next, Allen. This guy, again, has been given a lot of shit over his 2 years he's been at the club now. But he was excellent again last night, and I don't think he really lost the ball once. In a 50-50 challenge, I would bet him winning that challenge nearly every time. And I have to give the lad credit, because after the Everton game, we could say he loses us the title for that miss. But there's a lot of moments that have happened over the season that we can blame, and that's why it's a season. But Allen was excellent again last night, and I have to give him credit, because I think he's going to be a key cog for the next couple of years in this squad, whether he's playing off the bench or starting in important games. But he just keeps everything ticking. He tried to play the Henderson role last night, and give him credit for that, but I have to say he was excellent though. Next we're going into Sterling, and I have to say this kid, unluckily, Hazard has scored 14 goals and had 10 assists this year, but Sterling really should have been the young player of the year. For me, young player is 21 and under, not 23. But Sterling was excellent again, and I have to give the lad credit as he always runs. Sometimes he looks like he's running nowhere, but that little bit of pace just reminds me of, not trying to say he's a Ronaldo or anyone, but he frightens the defenders, and I have to give Azpilicueta a lot of credit. He beat Cole every time, basically, and then I don't know why we really pulled him over to the left, because I thought Sterling would beat Cole nearly every time there, but he just runs. He attacks the player. I don't think there's that many players in the league anymore. I think Jesus Navas is really one of the only ones. There's not one not inverted winger, but runs down the touchline and gets the ball and just heads for it. Sterling believes every time that he can beat his defender with pace, and I have to give the lad credit. I think we've got a real talent on our hands with a player who actually over this last 6 months has developed. He can play in the number 10 role. He can play up front. We've got a guy who, I'm not going to make the call right now, but we could have one of the best players in the world right here. 6 months ago I don't think we would have said that, but he's developed so fast that if someone put a bid in for him, we would have to be accepting 30 to 40 million. People are saying 30 million for Ross Barkley. You have to be paying that really now for Sterling. If one team wants to come and get him, you're going to have to be paying a lot of money, and I think we should tie him down to not a high wage contract, but one that grows with how he grows. So I think he's on 50,000 right now a week. Keep it at that, but every year, and with more goals he scores, more appearances he makes, better performances, he gets more money because he needs incentive base. We can't throw 100,000 at him right now because he could flop, but I think we've got a talent here, and he's unlucky to miss. If it was a Premier League team of the last second half of the season, he'd be making it for me. Finally, Suarez, I just don't know where he's gone the last couple of weeks, and we obviously can't get too angry at him. He has scored 30 goals this season, but sometimes he doesn't show up in these big games. Man City, he was alright, but again, I just don't know where he went last night. There's a couple of times he tries that cheeky chip on the 18-yard box against Schwarzer. When does that happen? I know the Sturridge cheeky chip that he did earlier this year, but Schwartzer's already on his line. It's going to be nearly impossible to beat him. He's seeing the ball the whole way. Put your laces through it. He missed a couple. Even that last one in the 90th minute, we had the bang on the volley. That was a great shot, but again, straight at Schwarzer. I would rather it just miss wide and look like he's aimed it. But yeah, so then going on to Aspas and Sturridge, to me neither of them really did that much, but I have to give Aspas credit for coming on. Hasn't played that many games. It's probably the biggest game of his career nearly. Man United have won titles on games being like that, won by players that aren't as big, scoring goals. Federico Macheda, but Aspas did fudge up for the last goal, but I have to give him credit though. Yeah, basically, one thing I'm going to talk about right now before we end, and you can catch us in the next episode that will come out tomorrow, but Hendo is probably going to be the one that's cost us the season, because for me he is probably the most important player. He has a stamina of 99 out of 100 on FIFA. I would say that really should be next year. He runs all day. He puts in such a shift, as Mick McCarthy would say, of a player. I just have to give the lad credit. So yeah, I think Hendo's probably not Hendo himself, but just missing that key important link to our squad. So thank you guys for watching this first episode I've done really by myself. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and subscribe. Please tweet this out, put this on your Liverpool forums. It's a discussion for everyone. I think I'll be doing this for the rest of the year, and on top over the transfer window and stuff. I'm talking about the club we love, also with EPL chat that will be coming up on tomorrow's episode of The Bounce That Counts. So please like us on Facebook, visit our website. We'll be having more stuff on that, especially after game reviews and stuff that me, Alice and Rishti will be writing. So please check that out and tell all your friends, because it's a show for you guys. We've actually got a big giveaway coming up next week. It's not that big, but it's a giveaway for once. So if you want to get around that, that'll be coming up on the Facebook page. But you can tweet me at Cuttsy and check out the rest of the episodes. So thank you guys, enjoy.